Hi everyone. So I will tell you today a love story, my first love story, when I went to pharmacy school, and I was at my third year when I joined a group of volunteers that they were talking about a cholera outbreak in the community back then. And I went to speak to people about this thing, and I felt something like ignites a flame in me, and I knew what I wanted to do and where I do want to go. Public speaking and public health has turned me from a lost daydreamer into an action taker, and I fell in love with translating my thoughts into projects that can have an impact on people's life. My name is Zahraa al-Sarraf, you know me as Zahra. I was born in the year 1995 in Iraq, Baghdad, during a time of world punishment to Iraq. Saddam Hussein has invaded Kuwait and declared it as an Iraqi city that needs to be restored. A familiar scenario the world is witnessing today. In 1997, we moved to our father in Libya, who was working due to that. And in 2003, due to American war, we came back to Iraq. My family thought that the dictatorate rule was done and over, and we will be able to live peacefully in our homeland this time. It was high and realistic expectation of how the situation in Iraqi streets actually was. In 2006, I came back as usual from school, and I was waiting for my mom because she arrives first. But this time I received her differently. There was crying out loud with a broken heart, and deep down a voice of me, in her voice has a new wit. So I went down slowly, and I saw people gathering in the back of our garden, and I saw my mom, and she told me that my dad has died or killed. And I knew after that, even the ambulance, they blocked her from going into him, my dearly dad. So after that, few times, I used to wake up with nightmares of someone crossing to our house and killing my mom. I remember I used to check her, belly's going up and down while she's asleep just to make sure she's alive. Turning point in my life when I went to pharmacy school, and I picked PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, as a graduation project. And here, when I started to dig deep down, I started to notice not only the psychological, but the physical symptoms apply to my condition. And for the first time, I found there is a reason for my chronic body pains. In 2020, I was deteriorating into severe depression, and these thoughts and feelings were growing uncontrollably, to be somehow out of my league. And I know I've been into that situation before, so I knew this is dangerous. So I made the decision to finally go to a psychiatrist secretly. So I went there. 2 sessions later, people close around me, they found out about that, and they tried to hold me back, reminding me of a stigma that will follow me if I kept on these visits. But I didn't care this time, because for the very first time, I started to see an authentic light that was trying to find its way from the inside. It wasn't anything external. It wasn't people. It wasn't circumstances. It wasn't anything that was coming to me. It was finding its way from in to out. Okay, and during that time, I decided to apply for the Atlantic Fellowship for Health Equity, and this time, I'm going to choose mental health as a responsibility. So before one of the interviews, a senior fellow, she told me, however you think of the word deep, this fellowship will go with you deeper. And during that convening, it's too different from what I have expected back then. So learning from this experience as this experience unfolds itself. During Dr. Sable's lessons, I sometimes used to react even with tears, because these stories and situations not only touches me, but touches people in Iraq and situations they are living, and they're still living every day, even people close to me. But 2 months ago, something happened. I was able to look above a cycle and I was able to break even that cycle. It was like the victim mentality cycle. I turned from seeing myself moving out of the motive of victim and wanting to revenge from these illnesses, wanting to revenge from like society and the stigma and all of these things, into a survivor, like who's now having a power that he did not have back then, which is the power of choice. And today, like, I'm choosing the responsibility, not only for my own mental health, but like to help those others who are like willing to take help for their mental health. And I learned from Kate Hilton that like not just like to like that my authentic opinion does matter, not just like the work I do. So I started to communicate with my team, like our values, communicating that like too vulnerably and together like around a common purpose. From my mentor, Bram, I learned to look like at the things that we see like as normal and the question, is this how things should be? Because like in my case, we don't have like another time to wait for a pandemic to come and show us like the disparities in our health system, and it would be too late back then. Okay, my project in health equity has shaped itself over and over throughout this year. Everything has changed except for one thing, which is its values and like bringing or prioritizing bringing mental health issues to the table in Iraq. We are starting finally our first policy session for this work next week. So it was like too much delays. Obstacle had played a role in my health equity projects, but with each obstacle, it holds its own unique opportunities within. But yet, I didn't feel comfortable. I want to implement it as soon as possible. I wanted to see results. I felt I was missing something until Marlene one day said during one of the breakout sessions, go with the flow. And wow, I found the word, go with the flow. It's like water when it faces an obstacle. And we are made 70% of water. When it faces an obstacle, it does not change its direction or go back. It just goes to find its way around it. And I was thinking maybe I was looking for a flood to think everything was going right. And I almost forgot that the floods that all come at the same time, it could be dangerous. And throughout these challenges, I learned to celebrate my small wins, as Scott said, because big or small wins are wins, and we should not underestimate them or take them for granted. Today, I'm celebrating this learning opportunity and being part of this community and being in the same room with the same people. I was looking at admiration at each one of them. How could they do all of these things? And sometimes when I feel depressed and I feel demotivated, I go back to sessions and I'm so energized after that. So thank you. And now I'll share a poem of my favorite. He's called Abu al-Qasim al-Shabi, and it's called The Will of Life. I bless the people of ambition and those who take pleasure in riding danger. He who has an aversion to climbing mountains will pass his days and nights in ditches and holes. If a people one day desires to live, then fate will answer their call. And their night will then begin to fade, and chains break and fall. For he who's not embraced by a passion for life will dissipate into thin air. At least that's what all creation has told me and what its hidden spirits declare. Thank you.